Hey YouTube blade lovers, what have we got here? Well, I have to tell you, that's not a knife. This is a knife. Yes, what we have before you today is the Traditional Filipino Weapons Bowie knife. This is an amazing work of art that I'll give you a little closer detail on in a minute. But as usual, let's run down some specs. It is 1 pound and 4 ounces by my scale. Has a 12.5-inch blade, 18.25 inches overall, 5.5 millimeter blade stock, and a 1-inch thick handle. It is made of 5160 D2 blend, heat treated in sodium nitrate. And this is all from the TFW website. And the owner there is Ron Kozakowski. You may be familiar with him or not. Obviously, this is not a flipper. This is not a folder. This is not the typical fare here at This Old Sword, although I have done a couple of traditional Filipino weapons reviews and some blade testing in the long distant past, about 11 or 12 years ago. And those videos are still available if you're interested in taking a look. So this Bowie knife, I'm told you pronounce it Bowie and not Bowie. Depends upon where you're coming from, I suppose. Let's see if we can get a little more light going here. There we go. This is one of many traditional Filipino weapons, swords, knives, bladed implements that are hand forged in the jungles of the Philippines. And they actually are hand forged. And I believe there's some power hammer forging as well. This blade has a flat grind, more or less, down to what you might consider to be kind of an apple seed grind at the very edge. You can see in terms of today's factory manufacturers, it is not perfect and has some little variances in the steel there from the forging. And I don't have a Rockwell for you, but there is the maker mark for traditional Filipino weapons. We have a beautiful ebony wood handle that is carved into kind of a bamboo look here. You're not going to see that on too many Bowies. And it has an interesting drop to the handle as well. It's capped off by a steel, and let's see if it is steel, pommel. No, that is probably aluminium, as the Brits like to say, or aluminum, as we say in the West. It is obviously a classic upturned point Bowie design with a significant choil in here. So you can definitely work your finger into that choil area if you want to choke up. And that does give you a pretty amazing grip. So one of the larger items I've had here on the table, so I don't have a lot of room to move it around. It does weigh well over a pound. And these come in price-wise at the TFW site. And by the way, that's traditionalfilipinoweapons.com. They come in at their site a little over $300. So in terms of custom knives, that is a bargain. You can buy a $300 Wee knife and you know it's beautifully made, but it's a factory-made knife. This is handmade. They blank these out, as I've seen some of the production pictures of the production processes. They blank these out and then they begin basically power hammer forging and hand forging until they get the shape that they need. It is hidden tang, terminates there with that little peened over piece of steel there that holds everything in place. And they use some kind of a root glue from the jungle that is coated onto that tang before it's inserted into the handle. And I've never had one in the 12 or so years that I've been photographing these and using these. I've never had one come loose. Not a wiggle, not a wobble, nothing. The guard, everything is on there solid. Even in some extreme cutting tests that others have done, that thing doesn't shake loose. So it's just really an amazing Bowie. If you're into, Bowie. If you're into Bowie knives, this is one to have for your collection if you don't already have one. I know there are many of you out there who subscribe to the channel who do like fixed blade knives, and this can be whatever you'd like it to be. This can be a wall hanger. This can be a last ditch item in your bureau drawer or front drawer, front door to ward off intruders. And believe me, I think you'd have them surprised if you presented this. Or could be something you bring out in the woods and you use as a survival weapon or as a camping knife. It'll handle just about everything, and these do come through with very good edges on them, shaving sharp, which is unusual for a big knife. And of course you can always dress that edge up to be how you want it to be. They do come with a leather sheath. Let's see if I have that handy. Just a moment. Now that is your sheath. That's pretty basic. And if you did get one of these, you know, you could go Kydex. You could have a heavier leather sheath made, but it's more or less decorative, and it's functional. I'm not going to criticize it because it holds a hell of a knife. At any means, or any rate rather, this is the Traditional Filipino Weapons Bowie knife. Hope you enjoyed that quick look at it, and we'll be back to some flippers, folders, and other conventional stuff coming up pretty soon. Have a good one. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. This Old Sword, signing out.